Welcome back to the Unstuck Business. I am your host, Rob Z. This platform is to help you have those breakthroughs in business that you're looking for, to help you find, if the chains are holding you back, if you feel like you've reached a plateau, if you feel like you're looking for that breakthrough experience. I love to bring people on this show that have had that breakthrough in their lives, in their careers, in their business, to give you examples of how it can also happen for you. Today, I got to thank the sponsor. First of all, the Connected Leaders Academy, run by Jose Escobar. The CLA is incredible. I've been in the group for a while now, and it's been incredibly beneficial to me. If you're looking for incredible entrepreneurs who are networking and connecting, I would check out the CLA. The show notes have all the details about the Connected Leaders Academy, but also another incredible group that I'm in is BNI, Business Networking International, and I've brought on the show Russ Mehnert. So Russ is the executive director of BNI Central Pennsylvania, the area that I am currently from. He passionately guides entrepreneurs, sales professionals, and small business owners in building successful networks with extensive experience in networking and business development. Russ is a key driver behind the growth of BNI in Central Pennsylvania, dedicated to supporting local businesses and advocating for the success of professionals in the region and for professionals and businesses nationwide and worldwide, because BNI is a worldwide organization. Russ, thank you so much for being a part of the Unstuck Business.
Hey, Rob, thanks for having me. It's a real honor to be on your show. Happy to be here.
Really cool to have you here, man. And I love BNI for myself. It's been incredibly beneficial for me and my personal and professional growth in my business. So I'm really excited to have you on here and talk BNI with you for a little bit. I'd love to open these episodes up with a question. We ask better questions. We get better answers in our lives. We find the breakthrough that we're looking for in our life and our business. The question I want to ask you is, how could BNI be a business's game changer? And how was it a game changer for you in your career and your business?
Yeah, so great question. And to preface with, I'm the executive director for the region now, but I was a member of a chapter for 13 years. And my business was payroll services. So that's the category I held in the chapter. The game changer for me when I was a member, there's a lot of layers to it. But, on the surface, BNI is a referral organization. We get together, we meet for the purpose of building relationships to be able to pass strong referrals to each other. So the game changer for me at the time, I was a cold calling sales professional. And after a few months into BNI, the game changer was I never had to make a cold call again. I was getting personally introduced to my next best customer. So from a salesperson's mindset, that was a big game changer, never having to do cold calls, right? That was level one as a member. That was a big game changer. The other thing for me is, in my business, we ran a payroll company, and my partners were accountants. So I was the first, which would become a team of salespeople, but I was the first in a sales mindset with partners who knew accounting and payroll very well. So our conversations at our office were very often around running the business and making the business stronger. But in a BNI chapter, you're with a lot of growth-minded professionals. So it was a different kind of conversation that I was having with my fellow members. We were talking strategically about growth for each other's business. How can we pass referrals? So it was how do we run our business conversations, which was the conversations I have with my business partners, to how do we all grow together? So the game changer there was it helped me expand my mindset on growth by being with other professionals who are also expanding their growth mindset at the same time. So for a solopreneur who works very much alone and sometimes remotely, having a network of professionals that you're with every single week can really be not only supportive, but be a big mindset shift in your business when other people are thinking that same way. So very growth minded, growth oriented in our chapters.
You know, something you said there at the beginning, which is huge, right? For anybody who is making cold calls, like you said, you got into BNI and you never had to make a cold call again because of the networking referral basis of what BNI is all about. Like, that's incredible to hear that from yourself, who you spent all of your time making cold calls. That's how you were growing your payroll business, was reaching out to people who had no idea who you were. Now you're inside of a group where everybody's wanting to grow together. So not just personally, professionally, like every area of your life, you're trying to grow and become a better version of yourself and your business, to create more money, to generate more revenue, which is going to make your lifestyle better. It's just, there's so many incredible benefits in there. But the fact that you found a group of people who all wanted to help each other, and that led you to not ever have to pick up the phone to make another cold call. I mean, that anybody who's listening or watching this right now that's hearing that, I'm sure that is exciting to you, that is interesting to you, because that sounds great, right? Whenever I hear that from you, I'm like, man, that's what an incredible way to talk about how BNI brings people together and how it helps you to grow your business. At what stage, when you got in the beginning, did you realize, like, I haven't made a cold call in a week, I haven't made a cold call in a month? Like, how did that start to scale for you as you got into your BNI chapter?
Yeah, so I remember it was at about the, and I didn't necessarily know it at the time, but it was at about the 6 month point as a member, because it does take a little bit of time to build the relationships. But I had received a referral, which was at the time a pretty large referral for me. And it was, a light bulb went off in that if I invest a lot of time and energy into building these relationships stronger, I'll probably get a lot more of these home run referrals, which was the case. And, BNI is the same as anything else. You get out of it what you put into it. And that was a point where I decided to really go all in and make BNI my focus. And by focusing on the relationships, focusing on the system and the program, it helped me to position myself to then never have to cold call again, because it turned into just awesome and big referrals that I probably wouldn't have been able to land on my own. And if I was, it would have taken a lot of energy to break down the barriers. Whereas when you get a referral, the sales process is shortened and the probability of you getting the business goes through the roof. Right? So
Yeah. Well, the relationships, right? You had mentioned relationships, and that's, when it comes to business, is everything. If you're going to get great referrals, or if you're going to get a great addition to your business, if you're going to get an amazing client, it's most of the time going to come through a referral, a relationship you built with somebody else. And the great thing about BNI, and this is something that, when I bring this up to people, some people are like excited about it. Other people are like, oh man, I don't know if that's for me. It's the self-discipline of what BNI is all about that I love, just from somebody who I love self-discipline, personal development, leadership, things of that nature.
Yeah.
So I love the fact that, like, I've got to be on point when I come to BNI. You got to show up, you got to give referrals, you have to give testimonials, you've got to build relationships, you've got to be bringing new people into the chapter. And for some people that might sound intimidating, right? It might sound, that's what I've heard from some people. It sounds like a lot that I have to do. It's really not. It's how we should be running our businesses if we want to be successful. So can you speak to that a little bit for yourself, as far as, have you heard that before? It sounds like a lot, but in reality, it's actually exactly what you need to be doing.
Yeah, so it's a commitment, right?
Yeah.
And that's the word that we make, right? Building relationships is about forming these commitments and forming habits. So when you lay it all out, it sounds like a lot, but the reality is, BNI is an organization that has systems and processes, and we have a lot of training and coaching for someone who comes in. And we know that every new member needs the learning, needs the training, needs the coaching. So we work with members to get them comfortable doing all of those things that you just mentioned. And as you invest the time and energy in learning how to do these things and start forming habits, then it just becomes second nature. And there's a point, I don't know if you've reached this yet, Rob, in your business and in your membership, but there becomes a point where members naturally start doing things for BNI without having to think about it, right? So when you first come into BNI, you think I've got my business and I've got my social and personal life, and then I've got BNI, right? It's compartmentalized. Whereas the longer you do this and these relationships grow, that inviting other people to meet your members becomes natural. Generating referrals becomes natural because our filters have opened up. So yes, it's a commitment that you make to each other, and we teach you how to use this system and this program to form the habits that make you a better networker, a better business professional, a stronger leader. And these are all of the layers that we have in BNI. On its surface, we're a referral network organization, but there's so much more to it and the development that comes along with it. So
Yeah, and that's what I've noticed, just the personal development that comes along with it. And just the sense that, like you're saying about BNI becoming like second nature, the way I talk to people about it, and it is becoming second nature, that I am it's kind of in the back of my head whenever I'm talking about anything. Not because I'm trying to sell somebody on anything, it's because I know this is going to help you. And I know this is going to be beneficial to you. I've known how much I've grown in my business from being in BNI. It's been incredibly helpful. And the other interesting part is I actually use like characteristics of what we're supposed to be doing inside of BNI just in my daily life, connecting people together, right? Building new relationships and connecting others together that I know would work great together, but know people who know, I know they need to know each other. And I know without me, they'd never get to know each other. And me going out of my way to build those relationships, to be kind of a bridge, to have those people meet each other. So we do that in BNI, but I'm also finding myself doing that just in my everyday life because of the benefits that come out of it. And I say for me, one of the biggest things that's been incredibly helpful is being able to talk about my business on a weekly basis to a group of people who are also working on their presentations, or if you want to say their pitches for their business on a weekly basis. So every single week, and now that I'm doing the national speed networking inside of BNI also, a couple days a week, I'm telling people exactly what I do, basically like my elevator pitch, right? Or here's the kind of referral that I'm looking for. Here are the people that I'm trying to bring in to work with me, and here is exactly what I do. I'm getting a chance to master that and get really, man, I don't know how else I would ever get this good at talking about what I do because I have to do it so often. Do you hear that a lot from people that you have in the chapters? Because I feel like it's something that doesn't get talked about enough. Of course, the referrals are great. Bringing people in and building power teams to help your businesses grow is amazing. But the fact that you get to practice talking about what you do has been incredibly helpful. Is that beneficial for you also?
Yeah, and so that's part of the commitment and the training that we work with new members on is, if you attend a BNI meeting, you see members going around the room doing a presentation, explaining the type of referrals that they're looking for. In other words, here's what my next best customer looks like. This is how you would know if you were talking to them. And here's what I want you to say in order to possibly make an introduction for me, right? So we have an outline, we have a formula for that. And it's surprising that when we're training on these presentations, when we get to the part about, well, what do you want me to say about you, right? What's the thing that makes you unique? Why would this person want to do business with you as opposed to your competition? A lot of professionals don't necessarily know the answer or don't know how to verbalize it. So when you're doing your weekly presentations, it, for lack of a better word, forces you to work on that part of your business so that you can tell your members and you can tell other people, this is what I'm looking for. This is how you'll know them when you find them. And this is exactly what I want you to say to them because I have a solution to their problem. So this is how you introduce me. And If you as a member, as a professional, don't know that, then it's really hard to educate others on how to say that for you. So we dive into that and we work on it. That part of the commitment is work on that piece of your business. Why do your customers choose you as opposed to your competition? What led you to dealing with those customers? And how can we talk a lot about niching your business in BNI too, right? Take a look at your customer base. Which customers would you want more of, and which customers would you want less of? Because every business has that balance, right? Has that tipping point. So what customers, what type of customers, what profile, um, in either a business to business customer or a business to consumer customer, what do you want more of? And where do we find more of those customers for you? And then when I'm standing in front of your next best customer, what do you want me to say to them so that they anticipate your phone call or they anticipate the introduction, right? And that takes some work and it takes some energy. But we help our members work on that. And so that alone can be a big game changer, is just learning how to talk about your business.
Mm-hmm. Just
And
learn
being comfortable with it.
Yeah, man, it's so the reciprocity, which you call the giver's gain inside of BNI, but the reciprocity is incredible. Of like, my whole goal is to help you find more business, and when you grab that concept in life in general, but especially when it comes to business, right? Grab that concept. My whole goal is to help other people grow. When I'm giving value all the time in that way, it's gonna come back to me, and especially in BNI, because that's how it's designed, that's how it's built. So if we treat being in BNI like that, being in business that way, being in life that way, our life is going to get better. So and this might sound corny, but I look at BNI as like a way to improve your overall life. You make your life better through it. If you take the principles that you learn inside of the group and apply it to everything that you do. Yeah. And I'm just looking forward to, I'm in my second year right now. I'm looking forward to year 5, year 10. I talk to people who have been in BNI for a decade or more, and the way they talk about it, it's so streamlined for them. It's so second nature to them. I really look forward, like talking to you about it, really look forward to being at that place, because I don't see myself ever leaving BNI. I don't know why I ever would, because you build these amazing relationships and you really get to see other people grow and you grow at the same time. So I'm going to jump in. We're going to shout out to the sponsor here real fast. But before we do that, I want to get everybody ready for what's coming up next, because you went from just being a business owner of your payroll business to the executive director of the Central Pennsylvania BNI chapter. I want to know what that transition was like for you, what that means for you now, and how that has changed your overall perspective on how businesses are run. So we'll talk about that in 60 seconds after we shout out the CLA.
Hi, my name is Jose Escobar, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Connected Leaders Academy. We're a growing tribe, a community of entrepreneurs all over the world, globally, all across the country, high performers, titans of industry. If you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to grow personally and professionally, scale your influence, develop your skill sets, move the needle in your business, more clients, more money, more profit, the bottom line, and of course, grow your circle and your network like never before, this is where you want to be. Join the Connected Leaders Academy today. We are scaling massively. We want to welcome you in. Check me out on Instagram and on Facebook, the @ JAESCO25. We look forward to having you join us. Take care.
So speaking of Jose Escobar right there, I got to get him connected to you. I think you guys should talk and get Jose into his chapter for BNI. I believe he's in the Maryland area. But I wanted to ask you about this. So being the executive director of Central Pennsylvania BNI, how did that happen for you over the years, from going to owning your own business to doing that? And then how has that changed the way you look at business?
Yeah, so I was invited, this is a little over 5 years ago, I was invited to take over as executive director in Central Pennsylvania. Now, BNI is a franchised organization, so that meant a monetary commitment on my end to actually purchase the region and become the director. So, it was a transition that I was a little reluctant on, because I was in a very good business in the payroll business, But having done it for so long, it was a good business, but it wasn't necessarily a passion-driven business, right? I mean, it was payroll services. We help businesses run, more streamlined, make sure their employees got paid, which is a really valuable asset for a business. But it wasn't necessarily passion-driven. Whereas what I'm doing now, I get excited about. I've been to over 2,000 BNI meetings as a member, as a director, as a support consultant, and I get excited for every single one that I go to, because I know in that room, in that setting, that there's connections being made, and quite possibly there are lives being changed as a result of these relationships. So when I was a member, I was also a support director, which is a role that some members can take on. As you can be a member at the same time and also take the training and the learning to support other members in other chapters. So I did that. Right now we call that a director support consultant, and when I was a member, we called it an assistant director. So I became an assistant director as well as being a member, and I got to do our member trainings. I got to support other chapters. I get to build and launch new chapters. And my business was payroll, but the way I built the business was through networking and through BNI, and that component was fun and enjoyable and exciting. So I was invited a little over 5 years ago to take over the Central Pennsylvania region, with State College right in the center of it, and I'm a Penn State alumni, so I was a real fan of helping support the area and the region, where I went to school. So I did that, and it was a transition where over the first 2 years, I sold my shares in the payroll company back to some of the business partners and got out of the payroll business in order to do BNI full time. And that was another one of those turning points. That was an investment of energy and time and some money in order to position myself to be able to really succeed and thrive in this role. And I love doing it. Same as you, I don't ever see myself leaving this position because I enjoy it so much. And my perspective is I had a great experience as a BNI member. Professionally, personally, lots of development. And so now as executive director, I can be in a position to help empower others to have that same type of experience, right? Whether it's just increase their sales, increase their confidence, help them change the way they do their business. We can have that impact through BNI chapter. So the more members we have, the more chapters we have, the more professionals that are being impacted. And that's essentially my role and responsibility now, is just to get this awesome program into the hands of more professionals and hopefully set them up for a path of success using the BNI program to do it.
How many chapters right now do you oversee?
So we have 12 chapters in Central Pennsylvania. When I took over, we had 4. So we have grown exponentially. We started with 4 chapters. In 5 years, we've got 12. My sights are set more on let's have 20 chapters, a few hundred members all networking together. And one thing that I noticed when I came into the region is we had individual chapters that didn't necessarily collaborate with each other. And that was something that I wanted to promote, was collaboration. So the more chapters we have, the more potential collaboration we have amongst members, even amongst competitors. And that's a huge mindset shift for some professionals, is thinking in terms of collaboration as opposed to competition. And we could talk more about that, but that has a high value for me, is creating collaborative relationships. And that's the building relationship givers gain motto that we have, is promoting that.
Yeah, and it's kind of like the new world way of looking at business compared to the old world way, where there's like all this competition and I have to take them out and destroy them. No, if we collaborate and work together, we're all going to grow together. And that actually works. And it's hard to get some people to adopt that mindset. But once you do, you're like, oh, there's enough for everybody here. We're all going to survive. We're all going to make it. We're all going to thrive, actually. And so I find that very interesting because that is one of the key components of BNI. And I also wanted to mention, right, this show, the Unstuck movement, the Unstuck business, is potentially worldwide. To whoever's watching this, there's an executive director in your area, wherever you are watching this right now, that you could reach out to. How do they, so if somebody's like watching this and they never heard of BNI, they're, maybe they're not in central Pennsylvania, they're somewhere else in the country or the world, how do they go about finding out more to set something up?
Yeah, I mean, the best place to start is just go to bni.com. And that is our international website. That's the global website, bni.com. And from there, you can enter your location and figure out where the chapters are that are close to you, who the directors are in your region, who supports that part of the world. But start at bni.com. In Pennsylvania, in central Pennsylvania, we have bnicentralpa.com, and that's specific to our chapters, our members, to find each other.
So how have you seen over the years, how have you seen businesses, how differently do you see business? You already touched on this a little bit while you were going through what you were talking about is converting over to the executive director of our area. But how do you view business differently now than you did, say, 5, 10, 15 years ago?
Yeah, well, so that collaboration mindset was also a mindset shift for me, right? So rewind almost 20 years ago when I came in as a member in a cold calling sales professional mindset. I had the don't work with your competitors, right? Don't share with your competitors. That was a shift that took time in BNI to get that collaborative mindset. One thing that I learned, this is one of those ancillary benefits of being a member, is as you get to know and work with other professionals, you learn a lot about their business practices. You learn a lot about their industry and how they operate within their industry. So one thing I've referred to BNI a few times as my small business MBA program. I have a bachelor's in engineering as a profession, but what I consider doing is going back for a master's in business. And I looked at my BNI experience and all of the professionals that I was networking with and all that I was learning from them, and realized that I was getting all the small business education I needed just from the people I was hanging out with and networking with and working with, in addition to running my own small business. So I learned a lot from fellow members, and it positioned me to run a stronger business. And it has also positioned me now to be able to coach and mentor other professionals, regardless of where they are in their business journey, starting out, layering up, or even transitioning out of their business, right? Because I've been through all of those cycles. So, I do see businesses as potential collaborations, and when you adopt that mindset, that's where magic can happen. I've seen two competitors come together, work together, and form an entire new entity, form new businesses, new relationships, find a new niche to serve. Whereas at first they were just competitors on paper. But when you really start digging into these relationships and figure out, well, how can we better serve our business community? How can we better serve our customers? And if you collaborate sometimes with your competitors, you can offer something better and different. Those can become synergistic. Right? The two parts come together and create something even better than you could have individually. So that's a continual mindset shift that I'm always in. Is where are these niches and where are these synergies that don't exist right now? And through networking and connecting, which you said you're doing that, and it's fun. Make connections, right? Because those connections can spawn into something amazing. They can spawn into new endeavors. They can spawn into new markets, right? When you make those connections. The shift in mindset from sales to networking is a big one. And again, when you're in straight commission, cold calling sales, you're very much in sales mindset. When you shift to becoming what we call in BNI a master connector is someone who is the catalyst, who connects others without necessarily anything in it for themselves. Right? And that takes some time to adopt that mentality. And we do a lot of training on that, not just how to network better in your BNI chapters every week, but then take what you learn from networking and being a connector out into other events, right? Go to your chamber events and network more effectively. You know, go into your civic organizations, into your Rotaries and your Kiwanis, and network more effectively with the purpose of making connections that could benefit others. And then that just starts happening in your personal life as well.
Yeah, one of the things that I do now is I have an Excel spreadsheet. So I'm on Zoom all day long, or StreamYard here, and I'm always talking to people. So I just have an Excel spreadsheet where I fill in their information, who they are, what they do, I ask them who's a good referral for them, where they're looking to grow or what they're looking to grow into. And I have like this list of, a couple hundred businesses at this point, and people that I've met from all over the place. And then I think initially, how do I connect this person to somebody else that I know, whether this person's in BNI or not? Like, that's where my head's at. And I think that's saying about the master connector. It is so important. It's so cool because it's a lot of fun. I mean, talk about like building a relationship when you're talking to somebody and you're like, oh, hey, I know this person that would be great for you to talk to, either as like maybe it might be a client connection, or it's just a business to business connection. Like somebody would be great for you to know in another area. There's no better feeling than seeing somebody's face light up, because you're going to connect them to somebody else that's going to benefit them. And they're not expecting that normally. In BNI, you're expecting that. But when you're having regular conversations with business people, they're not expecting that sort of thing. And that's also a great liaison to then talk about BNI. And this is what we do. We connect people together. The reason I think this way is because I'm in this organization that brings people together and connects them. So it's invaluable, man. There is no other organization like it for business. And especially the wealth of information that's out there about it. So if you don't know about BNI, you can even look up the podcast just to like get integrated into what it's about. The BNI podcast it's on all podcast apps, or the Power of One podcast. You get like an insider's view without being in a chapter yet of what BNI is all about. And that's something also I wanted to ask you about, or touch on the level of education and training and information that BNI provides to its members. That's something that for me has been super, super valuable. And I imagine for yourself also, something that you can continue to learn forever on that. Is that something you take part in, the podcast and stuff like that?
So we have thousands of hours of learning content in a few different formats, in a few different modules. But the easiest to access are those BNI podcasts. We have since added what we call BNI University, which is now called BNI Business Builder, and that's members to access learning modules. And the learning is, it could be about networking. It could be about being a better BNI member. There's a lot of leadership learning that's built into there. Because we every chapter has a leadership team. So we also groom leaders on how to lead effectively, servant leadership, right? So there's a lot of that education that's built into the learning. The mentoring, right? Like you said, we've had members who have been part of BNI for a decade or more. I was a member for 13 years before coming on as the director. And if I didn't make the shift to director, I'd probably still be a member here almost 20 years later. So there's a lot of mentoring and coaching that happens just naturally. But when I was a member, we didn't have BNI University, we didn't have BNI Business Builder. We had the podcasts, and I would tune into the podcasts just regularly and religiously. And those podcasts, the official BNI podcast is put on by Dr. Ivan Meisner. Ivan's the guy who started BNI almost 40 years ago, and he's still doing podcasts. And the Power of One podcast is also a BNI podcast put on by former national director Tim Roberts. So in those podcasts alone, it's BNI focused, but for the purpose of how to network more effectively, how to be stronger in your business, the mindset shift. So there's a ton of learning that can happen just in those recorded podcasts, and those are all audio podcasts to listen to.
And that's what it's been for me, Russ. It's been just an educational journey of learning so much about business, so much about collaboration, like you mentioned, so much about networking, and just being able to talk effectively and fluently and clearly about what I do, and then also know how to connect people together to help them build relationships. I'm so thankful to be in a BNI chapter and just to, be able to understand and learn how all of this works, because it's just phenomenal. And I want to leave, as we wrap this thing up, floor for you. Anything you want to share or talk about, we haven't had a chance to talk about, and if somebody wants to get a hold of you, how do you recommend they do that?
Yeah, sure. Well, so we've talked about it, a few times, just the way that we network and the way that we do business. The vision statement of BNI, this is BNI globally, is that we're changing the way the world does business. And we're truly doing that one member and one chapter at a time. And that is doing business in a way that's enjoyable, doing it in a way that is collaborative, and doing it in a way that's super positive and supportive. And that's what we strive for. And the original core value of BNI is givers gain. Right? The more that you can give and the better you position yourself to give, then reciprocity naturally kicks in, and you're also able to gain and to thrive in your own business and your personal life. So those are some mottos that we have, that we live by, that makes this thing work. And I believe we're truly changing the way changing the way the world does business, because it's a pretty cool way to do business. Right?
Yeah,
and I'm having a good time with it. I really enjoy it.
It really is a really cool way to do business. So if somebody wants to talk to you and find out more, how should they reach out to you?
Yeah, so you can go to our regional website, bnicentralpa.com is a really easy way to learn about BNI in Central Pennsylvania. Or my direct email address is just Russ, RUSS, at bnicentralpa.com. Feel free to email me any questions about BNI networking. I love working with entrepreneurs.
Amazing, man. Love talking to you. Always enjoy these conversations, and I just love the way BNI operates. So glad to be a part of it. Thank you, sir, for being a part of the Unstuck business.
My pleasure.